Moving on to round 3, the gloves are apparently coming off on White Fire. We've got Tagada versus Mephi, Seraphim versus Cybran. So we do have a little bit of a hover advantage towards one side. In my experience, White Fire is sometimes too big for hover units to really work on, though. Do you think that the Zooies are going to give him a noticeable advantage, Jaguar?
I'll just drop them, right?
Well, yeah, that's true, actually. RD drops are always super effective. Tagada...
Not too big, just drop them.
Yep. Tagada practicing the build order, or using the build order that I think he was practicing just a minute ago. He's going to be going first land, second air with Engineer out to the T3 Naval HQ on his doorstep. That's 3,800 mass on the front side there, plus you've got additional rock reclaim scattered through the base. So White Fire tends to be a map that accelerates very quickly and is usually either a race to T2 Navy or an extended slugfest with a huge quantity of T1. Probably going to be T1 from both of these guys, I would think.
Yeah, T1 Navy and T2 Maxes, or T1 Maxes and T2 Navy.
I'm not familiar enough. Mephi tends to rush a little more than he ecos, doesn't he?
I don't know. I haven't seen him play.
Okay. It seems like he's the type that would go for more T1, but with some of the people in the higher ranks, it's difficult to tell because they will vary pretty drastically depending on the map, what their play style is. I think you would probably be the type of person to go for T2 mexes, wouldn't you?
I mean, most people go for T2 mexes on this map, because epic reclaim, right?
I mean, it is epic reclaim. The only thing to bear in mind is if you do go T1 rush, you gotta be strong about it and you gotta keep the pressure on, because it's basically survival mode for the other player. And if they succeed at surviving and they have 4 T2 mexes and you have none, then guess who's gonna win the mid game with that extra mass income? You gotta be careful about that. Looks like we got 3 T1 naval factories going down for Tagada. He is abandoning his reclaim after sucking down about 1,300 mass, so apparently he has equalized his bank account to a certain degree. On the north side, Mephi dropping some additional power generators on his second air factory and going for third land. Probably so he can get some extra reclaim engineers out to vacuum up everything behind his base. Both of these players, of course, need to be wary of the fact that you got to expand to the front, you got to expand to the outside. And this is actually a good drop location a lot of times if you can try to get established on the other edge. In your experience, do drops early on tend to pay for themselves if you're building land factories on the other side of the map, or is that fairly easily squashed here?
Most of the time it doesn't work, because it's pretty expensive. That it's quite an investment you're making just to claim 4 or 6 maxes, and you'll tend to lose Navy instead most of the time.
Gotcha. The other thing I would be worried about is the fact that there's a fairly narrow bottleneck. So you can get around that with the Zooies pretty effectively by just streaming across the water, but especially if you're, say, Cybran, like Mephi is, all your Mantis in the end are going to have to run through this little choke point, which can be clogged up with T1 PD and wall sections. So
yeah, Navy can help there as well. Yeah,
so drops everywhere. Drops always a good idea, but perhaps not the early kind where you build 5 or 6 land factories. Okay, so moving on with this, we got 3 interceptors out for Mephi. That is opposed to 1 Inti from Tagada, but Tagada is dropping a second air factory, so going very, very build power intensive early on.
Yeah, Tagada's going for heavy air early on, and Mephi is going for heavy navy. Already has 3 naval factories down. Bruce is just 2, but already has figured out as well.
He's also getting a T2 mass extractor. The bottom left in the spawn is at 16%. On the other side of the map, no T2 mass extractor in sight, but we do have a transport out, so he's going to be dropping off probably to the right to expand more quickly. That is correct. We got the drop order out on the hydro to the right-hand side.
It might be scouted, though. Entities are already moving in.
It definitely was, yes.
Is that an attack order? I'm not sure. Is it tracking? No.
It's not tracking, but he is over top of the frigate, so now it's tracking. Early on, interceptors pinged an air scout that came in on the ooh, phone call. Well, hello there. Early on, interceptors pinged a air scout from Mephi that crashed over the transport. So that was scouted pretty early on, but I think it was too brief for him to get a lock.
Well, the frigate scouted it again, and now he's going to shoot it down.
He did get the engineers drop, though. So that's going to give him an opportunity to use those. At least he doesn't get rid of the build power.
And he will be in air control right now, so he can just build another transport if he wants to.
We're also going to see that early frigate shot down. The counter frigate from Tagada was able to win out due to the other frigate shooting at some random stuff. A little bit of build power at a factory that wasn't even built yet. Kind of sad to see, but I think the micro was just elsewhere with the air problems going on. Both commanders are moving to the outside expansions, which seems, I don't know, versus a Seraphim, that seems like a really bad idea, because you know at some point they're going to try for artillery drops, and it would almost seem like a better idea to keep the ACU close to your power supply so that you can defend it a little bit more easily should a drop leak through. I don't know.
If it drops is already kind of too late, ACU will take a very long time killing the drop.
Yeah.
And they can just spread out afterwards.
This is one of the things that I lack, is there's some critical decision making that I don't have the background for because I haven't played at like a higher competitive level. So it's kind of a combination of expecting stupid things to happen because you're playing against, you know, a lot of times when I'm in ladder, I'm versus people who may not even be 1,000 ranked global. They might be like 700 to 1,000 ladder. And then even in team games, I'm regularly running into people, you know, 800 or so. So I have to take precautions against things that typically wouldn't happen in a pro game. So it might be warping my thinking slightly.
I mean, it's the same thing the other way around, right? Because anything a pro would do, you would expect from him. And then it's completely like, when you kill power in a low rank game, it doesn't matter. He's built way too much power anyway.
Yeah, people are overflowing 250, so you have to kill at least 10 T1 power generators to make any difference at all. And even then, it might not matter. Shout out to Pookichu, appreciate the bits, man. Thank you very much, and I will definitely check Discord after the fact, after this game, to see the keyboard details. Thank you for posting that out. So if we take a look at Navy, it looks like Mephi is at a disadvantage with the units that he has on the front line, but he's got multiple T1 subs versus only one from Tagada. Tagada going almost exclusively frigates in this.
Yeah, and that engagement went pretty well on the left for Mephi as well. Tagada had two frigates close together, so the AoE from the frigates hit both of the frigates with one shot.
That's something to always remember about Navy. It doesn't matter if you're at the T1, T2, T3 stage. With only a couple of exceptions, Navy just has AoE. So if you shift G and units stack on top of each other, especially subs, holy cow. Subs can be a nightmare. You are going to lose multiple naval units at once, and it is bad news.
Subs are like, I don't know, sharks? Literally, what are they called? Well, these are slivers, but they can force an entire navy back just by shooting a little bit.
Yeah, because everybody wants to withdraw because they don't want to lose that little bit of HP that you shed trying to defend. Seraphim subs have 200 less HP than the other factions. I'm trying to mouse over one to get the exact number here. But they do have torpedo defense. Do you think they're relatively well balanced, or is Seraphim at a disadvantage overall on torps?
I think they use draw if you would put a sub versus sub.
125, sorry? 125 HP short.
Yeah, if you put a submarine for a submarine, they will just draw.
Oh, okay. So the torpedo defense will snatch the first torpedo, and then after that you get a draw based on how many are launched?
Maybe in very big engagements, but that rarely happens, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The same with the Aeon frigates. They have anti-torpedoes as well.
Yeah, but they don't tend to make... Unless there's hundreds in one spot, it really doesn't
exactly.
matter.
It's the same with the submarine.
Alright, Tagada moving in on the enemy frigate to his right. He is going to lose a mass extractor, but that's going to be some free damage for him on the enemy navy, and it looks like he's doing pretty dang well. Added some extra submarines to his build in order to beat back that opposing navy, and he has put a pile of assistance on his naval factory. So playing catch up and doing it hard versus Mephi's early naval lead. He's also got a T2 air HQ, which is building torpedo bombers to beat it back yet further. And on the other side of the map, I see no T2 whatsoever, except, again, proving me wrong, as soon as I open my big fat mouth and say it, T2 Naval HQ just started for Mephi.
Mephi also seems to have more eco than Tagada, so he can actually afford the C2 Navy. And I think he has more air.
Mephi is stalling for 300 power per tick. He's got 72 mass on the dial at the highest, which I'm assuming, counting for fluctuations, is his actual income, versus 53 for Tagada. So yeah, that's going to be like a 15 to 20 mass advantage, but he's behind in power and stalling hard. So he's not actually making the amount of mass that his eco is capable of. If we take a look at Navy, Mephi is on, well, air, 36 interceptors with 7 frigates, 9 subs. Tagada is on 14 subs, 6 frigates with 16 interceptors. So advantage Tagada Navy, advantage Mephi air, and if Mephi can get his power straight, he'll also be ahead on eco.
Yeah, he's making T2 engineers, so he will be making T2 power, and he can just make T2 subs after this.
Straight T2 subs and winner winner.
Chicken dinner. Well, he's making cruisers. I don't know why. He clearly has air control.
I mean, one cruiser never hurt anybody, right?
She's gotta pray Tagada's not pushing.
Look how much cleaner the reclaim is on the north than on the south. Tagada is not getting all of his reclaim potential done, and Mephi has very nearly cleaned his landmass. He's got a few trees on the right side still, but he is just sweeping the entire area with clumps of engineers to get every scrap of mass he can out of this. Why is his ACU so far forward? Was he getting some reclaim from a fight with it?
He's assisting an Inti question mark? No. He was assisting something, just a naval factory, I guess.
Oh. Is it only the Cybern ACU that has that bug where sometimes when you assist a building, your ACU just randomly walks to a unit 3 miles away and shoots it?
I think that was in the old patch, not anymore.
Oh, okay.
It was very annoying.
Yeah, I lost my commander on at least 2 occasions to that, where I was in a fire base and I set an assist order on something and looked away, and then I hear commander is under attack, and I look back and my ACU has just wandered directly into 14-point defense. So bad. We do have a T2 Naval HQ from Tagada. He is dropping a destroyer in a hurry, reclaiming his additional naval factories in order to boost up his income to do so. He does have 4 T2 mass extractors and full claim on his territory, but again, just not getting the amount of reclaim he could be out of his base. And also, Mephi is drawing on an additional 5 T2 mass extractors ahead. My goodness. I think Tagada might be in trouble.
Tagada already has a destroyer out, however, and more submarines than Mephi, so this might be a problem for Mephi. It would have been nice to see if Tagada had the regen field.
Oh, that would be beautiful. He could keep his entire navy alive just by sitting under it. The regen field adds what? Some 150 regen to all units in the vicinity? At tier 1? I forget what the number is exactly.
I honestly don't. I just know it's useful, okay?
To the database!
Also adds extra HP on the units.
Oh, it does? Okay. I did not know that it added extra HP. Okay. Seraphim upgrades. That is going to be... Wait, what? Does the new database not give you... It doesn't give you the upgrades.
Not the new database. Just go to the... Wait.
The numbers won't be correct in the other database, though.
No, they are correct. They are updated.
In the traditional
client.
one? In the client. Okay.
Unit list, that is the new one, I think. Yes, this one's updated.
Okay, so armored command unit. That is going to be the restoration field. Cost 600 mass and 4,500 power. Radius 22. It adds 1,000 HP to your ACU, and it adds 15 regen to all units in the vicinity, I think.
Might be just the ACU. I don't think it shows the units, because I'm pretty sure it's more than 15, because it has been, like, it keeps destroyers alive.
Yeah.
For quite a bit.
Broey, I'm sorry, man. Appreciate the bits, though. I thought that Spooky was the reliable client. I don't remember you ever saying that. Alright, well, I'll take it out of the links after this. In the meantime, while I've been distracted, Tagada has gotten 3 destroyers into the water versus 2 in a cruiser from Mephi. And then with the micro, he is coming out far and away ahead on this naval engagement. Something to remember about the Seraphim destroyers, they don't really miss. They get decreased damage when you're facing back to the enemy, but they don't have a projectile path, where Salem's have a very slow projectile on 80 range. So as long as you're dodging, the effective DPS of the Seraphim is so much higher than the DPS on the Cybern.
In my opinion, the best destroyer in the game. It's just, if you have the micro, it beats every other destroyer.
Yeah.
Easily.
This is why you overbuild T2 subs.
He just killed 2 destroyers without losing 1. They're only in the yellow. One might drop 2 reds.
The only time I would disagree with you on that is in just massive naval engagements. Like, after you surpass 20 destroyers. Because then I think the Aeon is just so strong. Between the amount of torpedo and depth charge damage it does with the Alpha Strike, all you have to do is miss 1 turn, and you're going to lose like 4 destroyers per firing cycle.
Yeah, you need to beeline in if you have the Aeon destroyer. You need to get in range. You need to get into our range, because else they are really shit. Like,
yeah.
The countless of times in sentence games where I was Aeon and like 30 destroyers and then just keep missing every single hit or every single shot. It's so triggering.
This may again be the level of play that I'm at, because typically when I'm up against people in Navy, they don't have the APM to consistently micro their destroyers. So the Aeon just ends up trashing every other faction because of the amount of HP and damage it has. But yeah, if you can close into Torp range, the Torps are just absurd on Aeon destroyers.
I mean, it works better against battleships, sure. I think, I'm not sure if it's still the meta, but you used to just build more T2 factories and destroyers instead of battleships, because Aeon battleships are very trash, and then transition into Tempests.
Yeah. Yes, let's talk high-level naval strategy about factions that aren't even involved in this.
I was about to say, not like it's gonna matter here.
Mephi is still struggling to get destroyers into the water. He's about to pop out 3 total, and he's still building cruisers. I am so confused as to why he's building cruisers. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and there's Cyber cruisers as well. Not that they're the best in the game. He lost his Trond expansion. And the reclaim field. So Tagala is now ahead in eco, I assume.
I would think. I'll go check back in on them. Let me go right over this way. So that's going to be Mephi at 87 mass, 1400 power with 2400 reclaim to his name. And Tagada at, let's call it 2400 reclaim, 100 mass per tick and 1500 power. So that is advantage 11 mass to Tagada with equal reclaim at the time I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and I also have more destroyers out. I think Mephi has a torpedo combo trying to even out the things.
Yeah, he does. It is launching torpedoes, so that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's got stealth T2 and torpedo launcher on the commander. Looks like on Mephi's side, we currently have 95 interceptors with 2 torp bombers to support, and Tagada is in possession of only 75 fueled interceptors. So a pretty heavy air disadvantage, but he's on 7 destroyers and 1 cruiser in the water. So his naval advantage is extremely strong right now.
Yeah, that 1 cruiser can win him actually. Can win him air actually because of the flak. Depends on the engagement. True.
I forget sometimes how much of an impact that has in the early game, because the interceptors will die in 1 pass over that cruiser. Could easily lose half his air force with a missed turn.
Well, he is getting shot by Navy though. Can't really do much. And I don't think he can kill the AC with the torps off the Seraphim destroyers.
Not with 3 Salems to support with anti-torp. I don't think he can, especially with the stealth, because that's going to keep him out of harm's way a little too much. This is the advantage of the Cybran and Aeon Navy, though. They outrange the other factions by 20, so they can basically just harass you endlessly, push back up, and it's incredibly infuriating to go up against. Cruiser is trying to kill off some interceptors, but there is a tac defense up between the cruiser and the naval factory / expansion, so that cruiser's not going to get much done over there.
Yeah, it really is all about this fight. Who wins this? Because there's a lot of reclaim here, and
yep, there's probably yeah, probably 5,000 mass in the water around Mephi's commander.
Excuse me for a second. I'll be right back.
Alright. Mephi is literally standing guard over the reclaim right here. Hopefully the cruiser is not going to start firing on him, because that would kind of suck to be getting socked in the skull by a Seraphim cruiser. But he is going to move up just a little bit more, get a little deeper water. This is risky business considering the amount of torpedoes that are over here. But as long as he keeps his cruiser close and his interceptors closer, he should, theoretically, be alright. The destroyer advantage has gone down some. That commander has managed to kill, I think, 2 to 3 Seraphim destroyers, judging by the wreckage in the water. And it is only setting up to get more kills. The range on the Cybran ACU's Torp upgrade is absurd. It outranges every single destroyer and sub, except possibly the Seraphim T3 Sub Hunter. I'm not 100% sure about that, though. It is rather impressive in range. Rainbow Doms, appreciate the sub, man. All right, that is going to be 7 destroyers, 8 destroyers on the front line versus 4. But with that calm to even things up, more coming from the back, and now Mephi biting into the reclaim up here. I think this game is going to swing very, very quickly. Tagada maybe looking for a snipe moving forward to just try and eliminate that Cybern commander. Even if he doesn't win it, if he doesn't kill the ACU, if he gets it to a low enough HP, it will have to back up from the fight. And that will give Tagada the advantage he needs. So much build power on this T2 factory, and something to consider here is that this is a pretty hefty amount of frigates coming into production, giving more of an HP buffer versus the Seraphim destroyers, as opposed to basically 100% destroyers that's happening on Tagada's side of the map. But then again, when you have beam weapons on all your destroyers and they just disintegrate everything in their path, you don't really need frigates then, do you? Cybern destroyers choosing to stand and fight, because of course, as we all know, when you turn tail, you can't shoot your guns. Mephi hugging his destroyers as if his life depends on it, trying to keep his navy alive by pushing frigates out to the front to damage soak. He's managed to keep all of his destroyers alive so far, but now they're going to start falling. 2 in rapid succession with a 3rd on the way out. Here comes the torpedo bombers. That is going to be a lot of damage on that ACU in the first path, pulling it down below 75% HP. Interceptors are going to have to split up to kill off all the torps, practically ensuring an air win from Tagada, except no! He is out of fuel on almost all of his inties on the left half. That was devastating. That is going to be a complete air win by Mephi, and the elimination of all the torpedo bombers with greater than half HP remaining on the ACU. And a good thing too, because those destroyers are coming in fast. They're going to have to back up now. Reclaim field is up for grabs once again as the air re-engages. Hopefully, look at the low fuel inties. The turn rate on those things are just atrocious. Coming in to sweep up the torpedo bombers that were trying to save this situation. And now Mephi is left with about half the number of interceptors, but all of his are actually functional. All you got to do is get in behind your opponent and you get pretty much free kills. So many beam weapons coming in on this Cybern destroyer now. I think that this is going to be game. Mephi doing what he can to damage these units, but unless... Oh, the air going down again with another mass extractor lost. I would love to see a flak cannon go down in the back here to try to salvage this situation. As long as he can keep this alive, he stands a chance. But that chance is dwindling.
I don't think he can.
I think that this is, yeah.
There are 7 destroyers on his shore. He's defending with 1. No torpedo bombers to help him.
It looked like he was going to pull it back there for a second, but the destroyer production is just so high from Tagada. Every time he kills one, 2 more come in to replace it.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that the Cybern versus Seraphim. Because I think early on they had the same amount, but
look,
he lost his.
The Salem barely even gets 3 shots off before it dies. Wow. That swung so quickly.
Yeah, Mephi had the early eco and early navy and early air control.
Seraphim destroyers just too strong.
1 fight in the middle lost it for him. When he lost the 2 early destroyers, and Mephi got all the reclaim. Tagada got all the reclaim. That's when things swung.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was curious about, because it looked like Mephi had come back. He had about the same amount of destroyers. He had his torpedo comm in the water. He had the reclaim. But when those destroyers re-engaged, Tagada was able to micro out and lose. I think he only lost 1 destroyer? Question mark? 2 destroyers, maybe? Out of like 7, and killed 100% of Mephi's navy. That was just absurd.
Yeah, and that is Seraphim destroyers for you.
Jojo calling out first cruiser versus first destroyer was the swing point.
I mean, cruiser was also a very questionable decision. I do not understand. It's Cybern anyway.
I think he built a total of 3 cruisers that game. If he
Cybern
would have had
cruisers
3 more destroyers, that might have been the difference.
are so bad. Like, you could just fight your inties over the cruisers and not care.
Yeah. Projectile speed is so slow, it just overkills every single thing by thousands of damage. Dropping down to the losers bracket, we have got Obfuscation versus RoboGear on Farce in the Forest, a very peculiar map, if ever there was one. Perhaps you want to introduce it, Jaguar?
Sure.
I'll drop it all on you. Let me just say while you're thinking, Obfuscation is running Cybern, RoboGear is running UEF, and both players are opening with multiple land factories.
Alright, so the thing about this map, at least in the early portion, there's a lot of tree clumps. So that if you use those tree clumps to your advantage, you will get ahead pretty early on. It's so much energy and mass.
Yeah, the tree clumps are also very densely packed. So, like, Blodier has just dropped 1 engineer to the back to attack move, and that thing has already sucked up 4 tree clumps, and it's barely made a dent behind the base. It's just such a huge amount that's so dense.
Yeah, also the thing about this map, expansions, like the mexes are pretty focused or clustered in an expansion. So when you lose an expansion, you lose, that's a big hit to your eco.
8 mass at T1 mexes on most of the expansions.
Yeah.
It looks like RoboGear is getting really factory happy. He's not planning on moving his ACU out. He's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 land, 1 air factory queued with power adjacency threaded through the center. That is a lot of build power to bring up. Obfuscation, a little bit more conservative, going 2 land factories, then 3rd air. And then I'm not sure where he's heading with his ACU after that. Is the ACU as valuable for map control here, or because it's so open, is it more advantageous just to use it for build power?
Well, the expansion is pretty far away. Eventually, you're gonna want to move it out, but I would just build to the base until you run out of mass, and then start moving.
Because it's basically 2 free T1 engineers.
Yes.
You either need to use it for combat or building, and you might as well go building.
Yeah, your other engineers can then go expand instead of building into the base, and you can get your expansions quicker and productions up pretty fast, because, yeah, you get your factories earlier.
That is a good way to think about it. Okay. Along the southern side of RoboGear's base, he's got a T1 engineer with an assist chain running. He's got a tank assisted to an engineer, and then the scout assisted to the tank, so they all just kind of follow each other, which seems like a bad thing, because then the engineer is tanking fire. I mean, okay. He is moving it now, breaking his own tree clumps as a tear falls from Jaguar's eye. But, Obfuscation. Obfuscation is going to move up to the front expansion of 3 mexes north of his base and send out a little bit of counterattack with a couple of groups of Mantis moving to the right. So things kind of getting off to a little bit of a slow start, but this is a 10-kilometer map that is very expansion heavy, so we probably won't see a bunch of concentrated action until a little bit later on. And yes, I did go in and mute Chrome. So hopefully no more of those very rude sound interruptions.
Oh, random ad popping up. Hello.
I know. This tank is playing Ring Around the Rosie with the ACU, and I think it might just get away with it on the left side. It did. It did just get away with it. Scout and a tank moving into the back, but yeah.
The scout kind of warns him. There's a unit Moving a bit too fast for an engineer.
Yep.
Just go around, but it will be picked off. I think. Nope.
What minute are you at? 4:13 for me.
4-4.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll catch up to me as the game goes on, so.
Yes.
Down on the southern side, did see a clean pick from RoboGear, able to eliminate an engineer. That is going to shut down the 3-mass extractor expansion to the right, but on the other side as well, Blowdeer is going to pick off an engineer before it gets the point events built, and that's going to be 2 free mass extractor kills on the right-hand side. Although it looks like prioritization is for the Hydro. Nope, he is going to back up and clean up those mass extractors. This brave little tank from RoboGear on the south side is doing quite well for itself. This is where it would be awesome.
Cool. One engineer, but I don't think it's going to get the second one. Depends on the micro of these Mantis.
Nope, doesn't look like it got it. But the Scout, the Snoop, survives to run through and break more tree clumps, so that's fun. Alright. Well, both of these guys are successfully raiding each other to a pretty great degree, because on the left-hand side, there's 3 strikers that were able to come in for another engineer kill and mass extractor kill. Although, RoboGear is going to successfully put an end to this run-by on the right by the skin of his teeth. Just barely getting those Mantis cleaned up.
Yeah, interesting about this is look at the ACU positions right now.
Oh my. They're actually killing each other's expansions off with the commanders.
Yeah, but Bloated is kind of caught out. He can always walk to the water and hide there, but then he cannot use his ACU, which can be a problem later on. RoboGear can just claim the center with his ACU now, or raid the 4 Maxes from Bloated.
I was about to ask if you think that's a problem, because he is getting those 3 mass extractors cleaned up. He's losing... If he hadn't lost the other 3, it would have been better. But he is cleaning out an expansion, and he does still have tanks in the middle that are denying the 4 core extractors. It doesn't seem like he's that bad off, but maybe you're seeing more into the long-term implication than I am.
Oh, his ACU is less likely to fight other tanks. So he's literally an engineer right now.
I got
trying to secure an expansion, etc. A very tanky chat engineer.
Maybe he should get even braver and go kill the 4 mexes to the north, although that would seem like a good opportunity to get your feet swept out from under you by some strikers.
Yeah, that could be pretty suicidal. RoboGear is raiding the bottom right again, killing that engineer and that expansion, so he just did the same with 3 tanks as Blowdeer's ACU did.
Although Blowdeer did get a point events. Oh no, he didn't finish the point events. He's just booking it for the water.
Yeah, he might be afraid from the tanks. Interesting to see RoboGear has 2 T2 Maxes already versus Blowdeer's 1.
Yeah, Blowdeer has 1 and another 50%. So this is probably going to turn into pillar spam, wouldn't you think? If he goes for the early tech, he's probably going to try to hit T2 sooner.
Yes, but he is in quite a bit of a trouble.
Lost air, and now he's got
yes.
a Jester picking his stuff off.
Exactly. There are Jesters building rapidly from that factory transport as well to try and drop engineers to his own expansions.
Oh dear.
Nothing is stopping him here. He can just kill so many Maxes for free.
That is 4 Jesters out already. This is going to be horrific. And he is going to get his ACU into the water, so he's perfectly safe over on that side. This is essentially turbo raiding.
Yeah, but he didn't finish the point defense, so 2 engineers of RoboGear will just get it right back.
Sigh. Why would you stop a 95% complete point defense? That would have been like 3 seconds to just stay there and finish it. Also, RoboGear building mechs as fast as the Jester can kill them. That's kind of hilarious.
I mean, it won't pay off. Maybe if the Jester gets shot down, because it's quite a bit of mass.
I mean, he's building the half-constructed ones, so they pay for themselves in 9 seconds instead of 18, right?
Is it 18? Wasn't it 12? I don't know.
I think it's 18 seconds to pay for it. So if it survives for 9 seconds, you're good. I think that is actually break-even point. So he's not technically wasting mass, but he is wasting time. This is forcing RoboGear into building stationary AA all over the place, which is just such a huge mass investment.
Yeah,
Eventually...
pretty good with his raids. Raiding the bottom right again.
Yeah.
Or 3 tanks.
Eventually he'll have the air denial up to push this back, but the question is, will he have enough left over after wasting so much mass and losing so much mass? Obfuscation getting brave again with his ACU to come back. He's got a group of about 15 tanks with him, so I'm sure that would make you feel brave a little too. Looks like RoboGear raiding heavily to the left, but he is going to get denied. So unfortunately, Nomex is lost there.
Not raiding the middle though, which would be pretty epic. It's 4 mexes. Quite a big deal.
Could potentially get 7.
He has radar coverage as well, so he should see that.
It looks like... No, he's not moving yet. He's just moving everything over closer to his ACU. Very odd choice, although he is dropping a point defense as well. So perhaps he's just fearful of what could be waiting right around the corner for him. As another Jester comes in and starts killing off the mexes randomly. Holy cow. That has got to be infuriating for RoboGear to have that continually happening over and over again.
Looks like Broder is going to rate the top expansion. Engineers are going to get a point defense down though. Only 1 artillery in the mix.
Plenty of tanks to deny as well. Mech survives on 40 HP. Total denial of damage there. And also, Obfuscation still abusing that T1 transport to get engineers out to the expansion more quickly and lock things down. He also had enough units left over from claiming the right expansion to move up through RoboGear's right-hand side. This is going to cause quite a bit of damage as it moves through, denying that expansion even longer than it had already.
Yeah, and he might lose a T2 max at the back that he just upgraded. He is going T2 land though, already halfway done. Should put more systems on it, in my opinion. Finally raiding the middle as well, and the middle right expansion.
Yes, with 1 tank. But sometimes 1 is all you need. I think he's going to have a major problem on the right-hand side. This is not looking good. Oh, the point defense!
He got there? Yes, so that might kill a lot of things.
The Mantis stopped to focus fire it for just a minute. It is going to drop, I think that's 4 Mantis, sorry. Fair little bit of damage there, but he is going to lose that T2 mass extractor on the top side. That is unfortunate. This is such a convoluted level of map control. Usually you see this map split more evenly down the center, but there's just so many weird clumps of units and mass extractors unclaimed in different areas.
Yeah, it's very easy to raid. Ish.
That's going to be Hydro down. And T2 mass extractor falling. Although he may just run by the T2 mechs. That's interesting. He's just carrying on about his business. Dropped a T2 mechs to half HP, and he's just going to leave it alive.
That is pretty lucky from RoboGear. But he still is behind on eco quite a bit. Obfuscation is already upgrading his bottom expansion.
He's also got 4 T2 land factories now rolling rhinos. So, though strong they be, if the pillars are outnumbered, they will still lose. And it looks like Obfuscation is just going to be powering through so many units.
Yeah, but Robo Gear is getting gun, and it really depends how he's going to use that gun. Obfuscation is going for T2 instead, might drop a TML down later on in the game.
That is a fair bit of damage coming in on RoboGear's ACU. The unfortunate thing about Medusas, they're really strong versus T2 and in land applications because of the stun, but versus ACUs in single target, they have the lowest damage out of any of the artillery. If that had been Zooey's, RoboGear would be dead right now. He would have had to either stop the gun upgrade or die. But with the Medusas, no. He just shrug off the damage, go down to about 2/3 HP, and he's going to finish that gun upgrade. Yeah, the TML from the left would be really nasty. That would not be the direction you expected of. You might even misplace your TMD and allow for critical targets to die.
Yeah, and you can deny a lot of maxes to go T2. There's no... There will be quite a bit... will take quite a bit of time until you get T2 at your expansions.
Pillars engaging with the Mantis in the center of the map. Pillars, of course, well, same for any T2 units. They concentrate mass in a denser area. So if you have 3 to 4 pillars in one tiny spot, it's harder for enough T1 to get into range to counter that. So the higher the critical mass of T2 you have, the more quickly they will just sweep away T1 units. It is a pretty effective snowball effect. But we do have 2 rhinos in the opposing group. I don't recall exactly what the mass-to-mass comparison is on rhinos versus pillars, but rhinos do win in a 1 versus 1 fight. They just cost, I think, twice as much roughly. Something like that.
I mean, we can check. Hold on.
Maybe 50% more.
200 mass for a pillar. And 300 for a...
so 50%.
Rhino.
Yeah.
Yes. And while I clicked on that factory, I noticed Bloater having T3 land already.
Oh, I had missed that. Loyalists in the field. Dang. That is going to throw a wrench in the works.
Yeah, Bloater also has the majority of the map, dropping T2 point defense with this issue right now. So he won't die that quick. He can always run. And he's quite ahead on eco.
He's got the extra HP and regen, and then that triad to back him up. That's just going to pick those T1 units to pieces.
Also the few rhinos and the amount of map control RoboGear is now giving up to try and kill that ACU.
The entire center is gone, and then on the left-hand side, we've got engineers moving in to get the get the reclaim and the expansion that ACU just left. That is not looking good for RoboGear.
Yeah, it really has. This is an all or nothing. He needs to kill that ACU or it's GG.
I don't think he has the units to do it, though. Especially with more streaming up from the south, he's just not going to have enough to get it done. Oh, look at how many pillars he has in his base. He's not moving them to his commander. I think he's too busy microing overcharges and movement on his ACU, and he's forgotten about everything in his base.
On the bottom right, he also has a few pillars. Or tanks, rather.
He's just clumping his units up around and not using them effectively. That's sad to see. This is where you use your move orders from the factory, get them close to where you need them, and then you can pick them up with micro later while you're zoomed in picking fights. It's not advantageous in the slightest to have huge clumps of units in your base because they're doing no good whatsoever back there. There's the tack launcher. How much you want to bet?
Macro is better than micro in my opinion, in this game at least.
I mean, if you're going to do one, you got to have a little of the other. That tack launcher, taking bets, ACU or HQ?
I mean, no even blow there. I think HQ, but not sure.
Ooh, tack defense going down in a hurry for RoboGear. I think he's anticipated this, but Cybern TML is going to take multiple TMD to stop, and it is a rapid fire launch. So we'll see how much damage it can do. Is he going to try to
Well,
block it with interceptors? Oh no, he just moved them a little.
he's losing most of the units now in the middle. Because of the loyalists coming in.
Nope, he was going for the T2 mexes. So as you can see, a single TMD splits the missile and shoots one missile of the 3 down that come from the split. So you have to have 2 TMD in order to kill off the TAC missile completely, or 1 Aeon, because Aeon TMD OP.
I mean, you do need twice as many, so...
I don't think it's literally twice as many, since they did, I forget what exactly the change was, but they changed it so that it doesn't miss the sphere. It's more like a cone of range, so if the attack missile flies over, but it's inside the circle, it still gets shot down. It can't out-height the protection dome of the Aeon TMD anymore.
I mean, it still has very low range.
Yeah. I do find myself building fewer Aeon TMD, though, because you just have to have the ranges touching. You don't have to overlap them. And I always get frustrated with buzz kills and with whatever the Cybern are called, because I feel like I have to build extras to have at least 2 on every location. Because with both Aeon and Cybern TAC missiles, the 1 TMD doesn't stop everything all the time. So I think I end up building about the same amount of Aeon versus the other factions in the end.
I don't know, I mostly built just 3 of them.
Right around the core.
Well, not just 1 in the core and then 2 somewhere in their expansion randomly, and that will stop almost all attack missiles. Unless they try hard and start bombing the TMD, that is very triggering.
Pretty sure RoboGear is dead. He is walking into the reach of 6 loyalists and a handful of rhinos. That is going to be the end of it.
Yeah, Crusader's hitting him as well. And he doesn't have air control, I think. He's moving his interceptors now.
No, he doesn't have air control.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad. Also, loyalists up on the right. RoboGear started out pretty well. The rating was very effective, and he was doing pretty decently. But in the middle of the game, when he lost air the first time and all of that, all of the gesture rating started happening, I think that's where he really slipped. And then after that, yeah.
He didn't go for much air production. I think Bloater only had 1 air factory in the beginning, just assisted.
Yeah, and then you can see how much assistance he has on the air factory now. Yup, that was a good game. Unfortunately, Robo just didn't have enough air production. You gotta worry about both land and air on a map like this. You can win one and still lose the game if you get overpowered in the other. But well played to both of these guys. RoboGear getting knocked from the tournament, and Obfuscation moving on to the next round. We're back up in the winner's bracket for the semifinal. This is Tagada versus Ajax. And both of these players are running Seraphim. So apparently they decided to, you know what, we're going to take the most OP faction, but we're both going to take it. So we'll be equally OP. The map is open waters, and both players are opening with a land factory. So you said you had to download the map. Does that mean you've never played on this one?
Exactly.
So I've watched exactly 1 game on this. It was in one of the previous rounds of the tournament, and basically it came down to controlling the side islands, because there's just so much mass out there. And I think it was Blast Chilled, I don't recall exactly, ended up in control of all of one side and 2/3 of the other, and then just through sheer force of production with all those mass extractors was able to win the game. So I'm anticipating much the same thing now, although maybe there is somewhat more of a meta involved since there's been some time to actually play on the map.
Yeah, I think an even fight on the islands. Most of the time, one ACU will walk to one of the islands and in time conquer that island, and then it's just a giant navy fest.
There's nothing wrong with a gigantic navy fest. Although I think Micro is probably going to have very little to do with the game overall, because two beam weapon based destroyers versus each other, you basically just want to point either in their direction or broadside and then sit still and fire as much as possible.
Yeah, the Micro is going to be who gets the most destroyer into firing range.
Yeah. Identical build orders so far. Heavy assist on the air factory for Tagada, which is going to go scout first. Probably interceptor to try to shut down an enemy transport. Although it does look like Ajax had an additional 2 power generators before he started. So he is going to be a little bit later on the air factory. That might end up gimping him a little bit. We do have raiding artillery headed out already.
That's what we call try-hard arties. But Ajax started with a Inti first. Scout later on.
Still no sight of a transport. So this is going to be a very late move to the side islands.
It's going to be about the airlock, and I think Tagada will win, because 1 versus 2 is not going to end well for the 1.
And then it's going to be 3 versus 1. Yep, that is an air win very early for Tagada. Already got a 4th interceptor out.
Transport has been scouted by Tagada, so he knows what the target afterwards.
Yep.
And in a very pro game, this would be GG.
ACU is moving to the center for Ajax. That seems like a very odd placement, especially considering, I say this unironically, actually, there's only 6 mass extractors in the center. Is it really worth dropping a couple land factories out there and fighting for control?
Oh, no. Expansions are way better. Like the expansion at the right and the left. Just moving your ACU to get the maxes, that is fine, because you can always move it back to your expansion. But you will delay your expansion, so I don't know if it's... I think he was anticipating his transport getting out safely, and it might actually get save out, because he has 1 T1AA out, killing all the Intis, and the transport is still almost full HP.
I think he's going to get out with it. I don't think there's any problem there, actually. That was a pretty hefty swing. If Tagada had gone for the transport immediately rather than continuing to fight air, he would have lost his 3 interceptors, but he would have killed the transport. And I think that would have been a more valuable item than killing 2 more interceptors and then losing all your inties anyway to the T1 anti-air that came up. And now he's even later on the transport, and his own transport's going to get shot down.
Yeah, he delayed his expansion pretty late now, and it being shut down is not going to help. Ajax still has his one up, especially if the guy is going to respawn to his intis. And Ajax is actually dropping the other expansion as well at the top right, so he will immediately gain control of that.
This is one of the huge advantages to having Seraphim T1 transports, because you get those 2 extra units. And that can make all the difference in the world on expansions, because instead of 2 and 4 or 3 and 3, you can actually drop 4 engineers at both expansion points. And that is a lot of build power to get a factory up quickly.
Yeah, and versus the 1 engineer, I'm pretty sure the 4 engineers will win. So that is a very early and strong win for Tagada on the top right.
Ajax is going to get his island. Yeah, Ajax is going to get his island so quickly. Tagada is only just now getting his ACU over to his core expansion, and he's not dropping his engineers on the far side. It looks like he's actually pointing towards the close edge. Oh, nope, there, he reorganized. But at the same time, Ajax is now going to counter drop the other island as well. So he basically gets instant free win on his own side, and he can now contest the left.
The Intis moved out of the way for Tagada, so there is a small chance that Ajax will shoot it down again, although he did miss Micro.
Yeah, the interceptors are way too far away now. They're going to do damage, but they're not going to be able to drop it before the engineers come in.
It might do damage? No, okay. Still 5 engineers versus
6. 7. 5 engineers versus 7, but should the land factories go down quickly enough and a lucky artillery get out, that could still change. Not all of the engineers are focusing the build, so Tagada's factory is going to be built much more quickly. Oh, nope, the assist order came in, so it's now going to be pretty much a tie. These two are trading blows in such a weird way, but I think that this is going to end up being very dangerous. Ajax is pushing Zuis from the outside island towards Tagada's core base, and there's no frigates out or anything to deny as of yet. This is going to get dirty. There's already a sub in the water, though.
Yeah, it's been killing, or trying to kill some willpower with the deck gun. I don't think it got a single engineer.
Deck gun. Underestimated on a lot of occasions, overestimated on even more. I like how the engineers have been moved to the inside to assist between two naval factories. So now your trajectory has to be pretty exact in order to shoot engineers down. Frigate is going to be able to deny Zuis, at least at the beginning. There are some shots raining in. You gotta micro your frigates versus artillery. Otherwise, you are going to die horribly because the damage is so high on Zuis per mass.
Yeah, and Aegis could potentially use his own transport to try and drop some Zuis in annoying places. Especially since he shot down Tagada's transport, so he doesn't have to worry about that himself.
Yeah. There's already 4 land factories online for Ajax in the bottom left. And he is building more factories still. So while there is an advantage in early tank count, Ajax is eventually going to overrun Tagada. Bomber perfectly placed for all 7 engineers in one strike. Holy cow, that was perfect.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Just like that, it swings back in his favor. That is amazing.
But Ajax already has his corner, and he's just delaying Tagada's run right now.
Yes.
And raiding the base now as well with the Zuis. There's quite a few Zuis and subs out for Ajax.
Do you see the mass income? 69 to 29 in mass. That is the difference that expansion makes. Ajax is on 1200 reclaim, 69 mass, 600 power versus 33 mass, 1100 reclaim, and 460 power. That is absolutely brutal.
The early game just decided the game with the transport killing.
Ajax is pulling so far ahead on this. He's also killing off core mass extractors with Zui fire, and Tagada pretty much can't get out of his own naval bay here because of the subs that are lurking outside the door. This is a tough situation to be in. Ajax able just to devote all of his build power and mass on the right side to even more Zuis.
Yeah, he's dropping Zuis on the top, bottom left, the left expansion.
The ACU left, and now everything in that base is going to be reduced to rubble. That is unfortunate.
So yeah, this does seem a pretty strong win for Ajax.
Early game is everything when you have an extremely expansion-heavy map, and we're seeing that here.
That's why I meant this in the pro game this might be GG when Tagada went for Ajax, but it swung around and Ajax went for Tagada. Killing that early transport is so important.
Yeah, I am amazed that Tagada did not get that transport. I think that was the single biggest misstep that he made, was not targeting down the transport when he had it, because those 3 interceptors could have killed it.
I'm not sure what he was targeting. I didn't look.
He had attack moved to the right of the first naval factory that Ajax built, that mass extractor. He moved his interceptors there, and then started fighting Inti versus Inti to maintain airlock instead of going for the transport, which is what let the T1AA come up in the base. He had a clear window of about 45 seconds where he could have killed that transport for basically free, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I looked back and I saw the transport in green HP, and I was like, what happened? What?
Yeah, I was very surprised at it. But, I mean, well played, Ajax. He took advantage of that perfectly, expanded extremely quickly, harassed correctly. He could not have played a more perfect game on this. And Tagada, just that one slip. If he could have gotten that transport, it would have been even footing. They both would have shot down each other's transports. It would have been tit for tat. But letting that transport live killed him single-handedly.
Went for his own transport pretty late.
Yeah.
I think a few indies at the start is enough. Like, once you kill the few indies, then go for transport immediately. Already with the assistance of the engineers at the factory, you can get it out pretty quick and then drop. But he waited way too late.
Tagada is saying that he had 3 inties versus Ajax having 2. I thought he had 3 at the front with 1 more coming in the back. He had killed all the air at the front, unless Ajax was holding interceptors in the back. But even if it was 2 versus 3, if you're coming in on aggression and you hit that transport, 3 interceptors deal enough damage to kill the transport before the 2 interceptors can kill the 3, right?
Yeah, you can kill it so easily. A transport will die pretty soon.
It's not that much HP.
Yeah, in sentences it happens super often. Like, 2 inties already can drop it pretty fast.
I mean, 1 inti for 10 seconds behind your transport is GG. Tagada, I don't think I'm talking bullshit. I think I'm actually right on that one. For once! For once. Might not be, we may never know. But either way, well played. Ajax moving on in the winners brackets, and Tagada knocked down to the losers. Moving on through the losers bracket, we're up to, I think this is the second to the last game in losers bracket. We've got Obfuscation versus Nexus, both running Cybrin on the Badlands. I have a question, Jaguar. Why are we on the 5 versus 5 version?
What?
It's 5 versus 5. There's even more mass extractors than there normally are.
I mean, it's Nexus and Brother. Especially, who was the host? Was Nexus the host? He likes eco, so I wouldn't be surprised.
This is, yeah, that is something else. Okay, so Badlands 5 versus 5 is actually listed in the brackets. This is the proper map. So typically Badlands is just Eco Fest galore, because there are so many mass extractors that you can just build all the T1 spam you want and you still have mass left over to tech mexes. It's this magical thing. And here we are thrown into a game with 6 more mass extractors than even the previous version had. So this is just going to be ridiculous.
Mostly the choke points being very annoying. Because you can wall those off and then eco building your building units, but mostly it's just going to be a T3 rush. You can get T3 land on all T1 mexes pretty quick as well, and try and crush with that, or you can just go for the safe route and eco.
It seems like every time I see a 1 versus 1 game on the Badlands, which it's actually been a while, I think. Used to be Badlands was played quite a bit, but it's been a fair few months. Roey with 100 bits, appreciate that, man. Just so you're aware, losers bracket 5 is a best out of 3 for who gets 3rd place, and then the final is best out of 5. Oh dear lord. Okay, we might be here for a few minutes. So we've got 1st, 2nd land for Nexus, 3rd air, and the same thing going for Obfuscation. So what I was going to say is, most of the time when I watch Badlands, what ends up happening is one person goes super aggressive and makes progress and kills a couple expansions, but in the end it doesn't matter because the other guy had all core T2 mechs and then just drops T3 land And, you know, that's that. And then they recover all of the territory they lost. But by the time that happens, the other person is T3 land as well, so you end up in a stalemate anyway. So it's kind of a turtly map. I'm glad that they ended up both going Cybern, because that means we're not going to see just utter UEF domination at the T3 land stage like sometimes happens.
You'd be surprised. Okay, at the T3 land stage, Loyalist early game, okay, but late game, Trebuchets, holy shit, they will just wreck.
That's true, because once you have enough units in one place, the Trebuchets are effectively doing like 1,500 damage because they're hitting like 10 units at once. So, yeah, that's true. We do have some aggression over on the left. That's cool.
Yeah, a little lab trying to get an engineer, but I think it's gonna fail.
It's close, but oh, it got it with its dying breath. All right, sorry, totally interrupted you. What were you saying about trebuchets?
I mean, especially in these narrow passages where you can just wall off, they are very effective.
Yeah.
If you can park them on the top of the mountain, on the left and the right, you can shell the base.
Oh, that is brutal. Absolutely brutal. I know that trick. Even mobile missile launchers up on that edge can sometimes cause some serious havoc, because you can kill off the 4 mass extractors above or below the plateaus and deal damage to any factories or anything in the area. Sneaky little bastard of a Mantis from Obfuscation got through on the back edge. That is going to loop around to the rear and potentially take out an engineer, but it looks like Nexus knows it's there, because he sent 2 Mantis to the south, and then he's pinging a T1 air scout across. So that is going to get scouted, and he will be able to protect the engineer. What I was going to say about UEF, though, is the Fat Boy. Like, once somebody gets a Fat Boy, it's the same thing in reverse, because all of the units have to pack into such a small area, and the Fat Boy just wrecks face. The Fat Boy with 25 Percivals in front of it is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, but it's pretty late game. It costs quite a bit of mass and time to get it.
And time is an even more valuable thing since the rebalances. Nexus is moving up with 3 Mantis. That's going to drop a handful of T1 mass extractors, potentially do a little bit of, should I call it damage, or maybe something more like irritation? It's going to be 3 to 4 mass extractors down before that stopped. Fairly effective raid. Meanwhile, in the south, Blodier is pushing again. He may be able to shut down the left expansion for a little while, but it's going to come out relatively even, because Obfuscation and Nexus are going to end up having about the same amount of mass extractors when all is said and done.
Yeah, Nexus is raiding the left as well. Killed the engineer.
Yeah, that is going to hurt.
Yeah, and Nexus himself doesn't lose much. He didn't move to his expansion yet, so he didn't sacrifice much, while Obfuscation or Blodier did, and he's just gonna lose it because he couldn't protect it.
Yeah. Blodier is dropping his 2nd air factory, and the land factories just keep scaling. That's 6 plus 5 for 11, and then probably going to end up building some more on the right-hand edge. He's also getting a land factory up on the plateau. There's already one from Nexus, but ACU building, that's going to go quickly. It'll be 1 factory versus 1 factory. If Blodier gets a scout across that, he'll know to go combat unit first, and he can still win that plateau pretty easily.
Yeah, it looks like Nexus is just going engineers. Blodier is going for a 2nd factory. Really wants that on plateau.
He's got hunters out. Interesting. Where is that one headed? Oh, it's on a patrol order. He doesn't even know what's over there. 2 engineers, and then the factory stopped building.
Scout going over for it, so he knows now.
This is where you drop a Medusa and then go Mantis. Just stand off with the Medusa to try to lock the factory and throw out your damage dealers. There's Mantis coming in now from the factory, which is going to throw a wrench in the work for the hunters. But overall, Blowdeer should be able to take this pretty easily. Has got Mantis coming out from the back. Quite a few T1 units in from Nexus. Not enough to break the base yet. They are going to try to feint off to the left just a little bit. But for the most part, the map has reached the standstill phase where kind of just a little poke, little prod here and there. But overall, it's teching up, trying to gain the upper hand in some small way so you can get some units through to the back. And generally, just trying to stay ahead of your opponent either in overall unit count or in mass per tick.
Yeah, Nexus already has a T2 factory online. No T2 Maxes, so he might be going for the T1 Max T3 rush.
There is a T2 Max up for Blowdeer already, and he does have a second T2 Mass Extractor in progress. So he's going a little bit more for the eco route. Ooh, Nexus is upgrading two at once, and both of them are at 70% though.
Oh, I see them in the base.
Yeah, they're going to come out about even. Will the engineer get the project done? No, probably not. Oh, it did. Engineer surviving on 33 HP and pursuing the Mantis for some weird reason. Oh, there was reclaim over there. I see.
Blowdeer might be in trouble though, because he's not going T2 land yet. Oh, he is going T2 land. It's 50% done, but Nexus might be power rushing his T3 land after his PGen finished.
He has stopped his factory, and
engineers are resisting.
Where are we at? He may be waiting for mass extractors to finish, question mark?
I mean, you don't need
No,
them.
they're done. There's T3.
There's a long... Yeah, he's going for T3. And Blowdeer is not even done with T2. He just finished it. But yeah, if he can pull this off, Loyalists will be pretty brutal.
I don't often see Blowdeer get out-ecoed this heavily. Nexus is at 89 per tick, Obfuscation at 75. Blowdeer at 780 power versus 1600 power for Nexus. Nexus is barely even stalling getting his T3. He's got enough in storage, I think, to finish it for the most part.
Yeah, the early race from Nexus helped a lot. And right now the pressure's on him. He's gonna have to try and defend with less units. PD will help.
As soon as that first Loyalist comes out, though, that's going to start regaining territory. Nexus is not only ahead by... oh, nope, they're even. Dead even on mass income now. But Nexus is about 1,000 mass ahead in reclaim. Obfuscation must be getting, yeah, T2 power generator because he's stalling for 300 power right now.
And these raids are not really raids, they are mass gifts. He needs to kill a lot with these clumps of units. T3 land is done. I think Loyalist is queued and should be starting pretty soon. There we go. A lot of assistance, so we'll get out quick.
Looking at the unit counts, we've got about 100 Mantis, 15 Medusas with 23 Interceptors for Obfuscation. So about 115 T1 units. On Nexus's side, there's only 60 Mantis, but there is one Loyalist in the field already. He's also at a pretty severe deficit on air with only 14 Interceptors. So unit count is down in both land and air, and he's also losing mass extractors around the back of his base. 5 Mantis slipped through around the rear edge.
I mean, they killed quite a lot. I think they were there the entire time. But the mass gift on the right was not good for Blowdeer, and now he's starting his T3 land. No assistance yet. But he will be quite behind. This engagement in the middle, He cannot lose these units. He cannot afford it because he will gift a lot of mass, and this is the only thing stopping Nexus from pushing.
I think that that's going to be a fail, though. He is not going to get them all out alive, and the Loyalists are going to be in hot pursuit. There's 5 Loyalists already in the field. 6 Loyalists. They are stacking up quickly.
And Bloater is not assisting his Siege land, so he will be quite late, and he's losing units rapidly around the map. Expansion is losing as well to T1 Raid on the left. And these Loyalists can just powerhouse through everything. Not the main base, I think, but a lot of the expansions. Second support factory going T3 lands for Nexus.
I am concerned that something is up. Chrome is biting out 60% of my CPU occasionally. I might need to shut down. Let me exit this.
Did you only have challenge open?
I have challenge and Twitch, and that's it. Something is desperately wrong. I'm going to exit all of Chrome and shut down processes.
Alright.
Alright, that seems to have fixed it. Unfortunately, I cannot see Twitch chat right now, but hopefully that will clean up how this is running for the most part, because it was starting to hitch. Alright, so back to the center. There are 6 Loyalists still on the front line, just slowly chewing through the T1 units. Oddly enough, T1 point defense still does mass effectively defend against Loyalists, but you gotta have them built before the Loyalists get there.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to have a lot of them, especially those around them.
So
there's now a critical amount of Loyalists that he can just push through the entire expansion and kill it off.
That's going to be below deer down to critical levels of mass. He does have 2 Loyalists out of the factory, and he is heavily assisting both the T3 land factory and getting E-Storage online to try to overcharge his way through this with his ACU. But this is going to be a risky gambit. Either he can overcharge enough Loyalists to let his own units overcome, or his ACU is going to die. One or the other.
I think his ACU might be in a lot of trouble if Nexus just knows. Does he know where it is?
He's shift G'ing where he thinks the ACU is. I don't think he... Oh, now he sees it.
Okay.
And the shift G immediately changed. Yes, he's pushing the ACU. Bum rush. This is going to be do or die. And I think it's probably die.
Yeah, Bloater doesn't have much reinforcements anymore.
No, he doesn't. Oh, that is painful. And down goes Obfuscation. My goodness. That T3 rush is so dang strong.
Yes, it is.
That was brutal.
There's just so many mexes on the map that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was talking about with the T1 pushes versus the T3. Because you inevitably lose map control while you are going for the T3 push. But then, let's say he lost the entire left side expansion. Like, there were no T2 mexes over there. There was point defense. He probably would have lost, I don't know, 20 income-ish in mass. But then he would have had the Loyalists anyway. So he would have just gotten the reclaim from that, recouped every bit of the mass that he lost, and still would have train wrecked. It's just, it's so strong.
At that point, you need to kill a lot with that group of Mantis, because else it will just be a mass gift. I think 40 mass per tank, or 29.
Yeah. That is going to wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.